welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a philosophy that's, well, it's really stood the test of time. Influenced all sorts of people, haven't it? From emperors to just everyday people looking for a more grounded way to live.
That's right. We're talking about Stoicism.
Exactly, Stoicism. Now, before you picture someone, completely expressionless, maybe staring blankly ahead, let's clear that up right away. That's a pretty big misunderstanding of what Stoicism is actually about.
Absolutely. It's not about suppressing emotion. Think of it more as a practical toolkit, really, for building inner strength, resilience, wisdom, and just a genuine sense of well-being.
A toolkit, I like that.
Yeah, it's like developing this internal compass, something that helps you navigate, life's ups and downs with a bit more clarity, a bit more composure, having that solid foundation inside yourself that doesn't get easily shaken by, well, whatever happens outside.
And this isn't some new trend either, is it? It goes way, way back.
Oh, yeah, ancient Greece, around 300 BC.
Right, and the story goes, there was this merchant, Zeno of Citium.
That's the one.
Gets shipwrecked, loses absolutely everything, ends up in Athens. I mean, talk about a rough start.
Definitely not ideal. But that disaster actually set him off on this whole philosophical path. He started drawing ideas from the Cynics, the Megarian school.
And he taught where? It was somewhere specific, wasn't it?
Yeah, in a public walkway, the Stoa Poikile.
Which means painted porch.
Exactly, the painted porch. And, well, that's where the name Stoicism comes from. So, yeah, a huge setback, ironically, gave birth to this philosophy that's lasted thousands of years.
It's amazing. And what's really striking is who it appealed to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such different people.
Totally. You've got Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, arguably the most powerful man in the world at the time.
Right.
Then there's Seneca, playwright, political advisor, right in the thick of messy Roman politics.
High-stress environment.
You bet. And then Epictetus, a former slave who became this incredibly influential teacher. I mean, their backgrounds couldn't be more different.
Which really shows how universal these ideas are, I guess.
I think so, yeah. It highlights the practicality of it all.
Exactly. And that's our goal today, really, to get to the heart of Stoicism and figure out how its wisdom, this ancient wisdom, can actually offer you, listening now, a path to a better, maybe more motivated life.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just looking at old texts for history's sake. We want to see how these ideas land today.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's dig in. At its core, what is Stoicism?
Okay, so the absolute central idea revolves around virtue. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life, which for them meant wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, or self-control, that's the key to what they called eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia, that sounds important.
It is. Think of it as like deep well-being, flourishing, a life truly well-lived. Now, here's a really crucial bit. They thought external things, health, wealth, reputation, all that stuff.
The things we usually chase after.
Pretty much, yeah. They called them adaphora, which literally means indifferent things.
It's different, so they don't matter at all.
Not quite. It's more like they aren't inherently good or bad in themselves. They're just material for virtue to act upon. Like a sculptor needs marble, right? The marble isn't good or bad. It's what the sculptor does with it that counts.
Oh, okay. So happiness isn't about getting all the good stuff and dodging the bad. It's more about your response, your actions, how you use that material.
Precisely. It puts the focus squarely on self-control, inner strength, how we handle our emotions. The aim is to become a clear, unbiased thinker, guided by what they called logos universal reason.
Logos?
Yeah.
Like the underlying order of things.
Kind of, yeah. The rational principle they believed governed the universe. Understanding that helps you overcome those, destructive emotions.
But we're not talking about becoming emotionless robots here, are we? Because that's the stereotype.
No, definitely not robots. That's a common misconception. The Stoics knew emotions were natural. Their focus was on understanding where emotions come from, especially the really disruptive ones. Intense anger, envy, crippling fear. They believed those often spring from faulty judgments, making mistakes about what's truly good or bad. There's this core idea. Virtue consists in a will that is in agreement with nature, or with that logos.
And that applies to how we treat others, too.
Absolutely. It leads to advocating for fairness, getting free from anger and jealousy in our relationships, and even, quite remarkably for the time, recognizing a fundamental equality among all people.
That is pretty forward-thinking for the ancient world.
It really was. It comes from seeing everyone as part of the single ordered whole, this cosmos governed by reason. Think about Epictetus, he argued. You could find well-being even in the absolute worst circumstances, just by adjusting your inner perspective, aligning your choices with nature.
Okay, so virtue is central.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the four main ones: wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. Let's break those down a bit. Wisdom first.
Sure, so Stoic wisdom isn't just book smarts, it's practical know-how. The ability to navigate life effectively and make sound judgments based on, understanding the world and your experiences in it.
Like knowing what's truly important.
Exactly. Zeno himself apparently stressed listening more than speaking, observing carefully. It's about clarity on what really has value.
Okay. Then justice. You said earlier some Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, thought this was the big one.
Yeah, he saw it as the source from which the other virtues kind of flow. For Stoics, justice means acting rightly, fairly, often with the common good in mind. They really believed our individual well-being was tied up with the well-being of the community.
And people actually lived this, even when it was dangerous.
Definitely. History gives us examples like Cato the Younger, Thrasymachus, Helvidius Priscus, figures who stood up to tyranny, often at great personal cost because of their principles. You can even trace some lines from Stoic ideas about justice to, say, the founding ideals of the U.S.
Wow, that's commitment. Okay, next, courage. This one feels maybe more straightforward.
It does resonate pretty clearly, yeah. But it's not just about big, heroic acts. It's also about perseverance, that inner grit to face difficulties, big or small, day after day, to keep striving for virtue even when it's hard, when you feel like quitting.
Got it. And the last one, temperance.
Again, fairly intuitive, moderation, self-control in our desires, our reactions, our appetites, finding balance, not being ruled by excess. But the key thing to remember is these aren't separate boxes.
They're interconnected.
Deeply interconnected. You can't really be truly wise without courage or just without temperance in the Stoic view. They all work together. They're the essential ingredients for that flourishing life, that eudaimonia.
Okay, that gives us a much clearer picture of the what's.
Oh.
Now let's pivot to the how. How does embracing all this actually lead to a better life for you listening right now?
Well, one of the most powerful ways is by building emotional resilience. This is huge. Stoicism teaches that it's not the events themselves that upset us, it's our judgments about those events, our interpretations. That's a key insight from Epictetus, and actually, it's a foundation of modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
So we have the power to change how we feel by changing how we think about things.
Exactly. You have agency. You're not just passively reacting to the world. That's incredibly empowering, isn't it?
It really is. It feels like it puts you back in the driver's seat.
Precisely. And that leads right into another vital Stoic idea, the dichotomy of control.
Dichotomy, meaning two parts.
Yeah. Epictetus really hammered this home, clearly distinguished between what is actually in your power and what is not.
Okay, what's in our power?
Our thoughts, our judgments, our intentions, our desires, our aversions, basically, our inner world and our choices.
And what's not?
Well, pretty much everything else. What other people think or do, our health to some extent, our reputation, the weather, whether your flight gets delayed, external stuff.
So the Stoic move is to pour all your energy into the first category, your own stuff.
Exactly. Stop wasting mental and emotional energy stressing about or trying to change things you simply can't control. Focus on your responses, your actions, your judgments, the things you can influence.
Let's take that delayed flight example.
Right. Getting furious at the airline staff changes nothing, does it? It just makes you miserable.
Right.
The Stoic approach is, okay, this is the situation. What can I control? My reaction. How I use this unexpected time. Maybe I can read, get some work done, practice patience.
That makes so much sense. It's about efficiency with your inner resources. What about those really tough negative emotions? Anger, fear, grief. How does Stoicism help there?
Well, the Stoics, especially thinkers like Chrysippus, argued that these strong negative emotions, they called them path or passions, usually come from those faulty judgments we mentioned. Believing something is terrible when it might just be inconvenient, or thinking something external is essential for happiness when it's actually indifferent.
So you challenge the judgment behind the emotion.
Exactly. The goal isn't numbness, it's apatheia. Which doesn't mean apathy. It means freedom from these disruptive, irrational passions, and instead cultivating eupatheia, rational, healthy emotions like joy, goodwill, appropriate caution, all rooted in clear thinking.
So it's about finding a more balanced, rational emotional state, not being yanked around by knee-jerk reactions.
Precisely. And another powerful tool for this, and just for a better life generally, is perspective, what's sometimes called taking the view from above.
The view from above, like zooming out.
Exactly that. It's a mental exercise. You consciously remind yourself how small you and your immediate problems are in the grand scheme of things. Think about the vastness of the universe, the sweep of history.
Puts things in perspective, all right.
It really does. Those daily frustrations, the things that seem so huge in the moment, they tend to shrink. It helps you appreciate what you do have, fosters gratitude, and lessens the sting of minor annoyances.
That sounds like a really grounding practice. Okay, so that covers the better life aspect really well. But we also talked about motivation. How does Stoicism light a fire under you, keep you going?
Well, it offers a really powerful intrinsic motivation. It comes from the inside. The driving force becomes the pursuit of virtue itself, striving to be wiser, more just, more courageous, more self-controlled.
So the reward isn't external praise or money, it's the act of striving itself.
Exactly. The motivation is baked into the process of becoming a better person, of living in accordance with your values, with nature. And then there's how Stoicism helps you deal with obstacles, which can be incredibly motivating.
How so?
Through the idea of amor fati.
Love of fate?
Love of fate, yes. It's not passive resignation. It's actively embracing everything that happens, the good and the bad, as an opportunity to practice virtue, to learn, to grow stronger.
Turning setbacks into fuel.
You got it. Think of that amazing line from Marcus Aurelius. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Obstacles become material for the fire of your character.
Wow.
Or Epictetus saying, basically, don't wish for things to happen your way, wish for things to happen the way they happen and you'll be okay. It shifts you from resisting reality to working with it.
So instead of why me, it's, okay, this happened, what can I learn? How can this make me better?
Exactly. That reframing is incredibly powerful for maintaining forward momentum. Also, Stoicism really emphasizes the present moment. Focus on what you can do now.
Seneca's live immediately.
That's the one. Your chance to act virtuously, to make good choices, is always right here, right now. This focus really cuts through procrastination. Marcus Aurelius apparently started his day by reminding himself of his duty, his purpose as a human being, things he needed to do today.
That daily intention setting must be a strong motivator. And then there's that other practice, memento mori, remembering death. Sounds a bit grim.
It can sound grim on the surface, yeah. But the Stoic point isn't to be morbid. It's the opposite, actually. It's to inject urgency and meaning into life now.
How does that work?
By contemplating our mortality, we're reminded that our time is limited. This helps strip away the trivial worries, the things that don't truly matter. It sharpens our focus on living fully, virtuously, today. Seneca said to consider, you might not wake up tomorrow. Epictetus advised keeping death in mind to avoid base thoughts and excessive desires.
So it creates value for the present, makes you less likely to waste time.
Precisely. It's not about dwelling on the end. It's about appreciating the now and using it well. It's a powerful Kickstarter for living with purpose. And finally, tying a lot of this together is the practice of journaling.
Ah, yes, like Marcus Aurelius writing his meditations.
Exactly. He wasn't writing for publication. That was his personal practice. Seneca reviewed his day every evening. Epictetus encouraged his students to constantly examine their thoughts and actions. Journaling is a core Stoic exercise.
So it's not just a diary.
Not at all. It's for self-reflection, for reinforcing the principles, for preparing for challenges, for tracking your progress and trying to live virtuously. It keeps the philosophy active and alive in your daily routine, which is hugely motivating. It's accountability to yourself.
Right. It makes the philosophy practical, something you do.
Absolutely. It's the engine for putting Stoicism into practice day by day.
Well, this has been incredibly clarifying. Stoicism is definitely much more than just keeping a stiff upper lip. It feels like a really robust, practical framework for, well, like we said, a better, more resilient, and definitely more motivated life.
I think that sums it up well. It's about knowing what's truly valuable virtue, focusing your energy where it counts on your own choices and judgments, and building that inner citadel, that strength, through practice. It really is a philosophy of action.
So for you listening, maybe think about incorporating just one of these ideas, the dichotomy of control, perhaps, or trying out journaling, maybe just taking that view from above sometimes, or remembering memento mori, see how it feels.
And if this has sparked your interest, definitely check out the originals. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is very accessible, Seneca's Letters on the Shortness of Life, Epictetus's Discourses, or the shorter Enchiridion, and there are loads of great modern books explaining Stoicism too.
Absolutely. And we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. How might truly accepting that some things are not in your control actually free up your energy, free you to focus on what truly matters, on what drives you forward? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.